Hello and welcome to the Oklahoma Venture Forum podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Golding. I am joined today by Anita Ly, the Managing Director at Gener8tor OKC.
Yes.
Good to see you today.
Thank you for having me. It's quite an honor.
So let's talk about what Gener8tor is, and we'll talk about what your role is there. Gener8tor is a global venture firm and accelerator network, but also not just focused on startups, but workers, employees, artists, and musicians. So a little bit different approach there. Also a lot of events and other things connected to the core of what Gener8tor does. Currently in 22 states and 2 different countries. That's very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But new to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, relatively new. That is correct.
So you are what they're calling inaugural managing director, but you're the head person in charge here in Oklahoma City of Gener8tor. So tell us a little bit from your perspective what Gener8tor does, and what you'll be doing in participation in the economic and entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Gener8tor started about 10 years ago, actually. And since then, they have grown to, as you mentioned, many states and 2 different countries. We actually have 41 locations as of today, which is really incredible if you think about it. We are an investment accelerator. So Gener8tor itself provides an investment opportunity into each company that goes through a cohort. And of course, we have various product lines, as you mentioned, 2 of which, the Gener8tor program and the investment accelerator, are now here in Oklahoma City. So we're really excited about that. Thanks to our lovely partners at OCAST, Cortado and Boyd Street Ventures,
right,
we are able to kind of bring this new product line on board here.
And where is your physical location?
Yeah, we're currently building out our space, but we will be right next to the Verge OKC in the Cortado building.
Which was previously going to be called the Hive, and then they had to make a change to make that happen, right?
Yeah.
So as you're introducing Gener8tor to Oklahoma City, let's see, Gener8tor is already in a cohort right now.
3rd cohort, yeah.
Right?
They just wrapped up this week, actually.
And so that's been happening now, the full Gener8tor program as well. What is your vision as to how Gener8tor is going to come on fully in Oklahoma City, and some of the initial impacts and some of the ways that you're going to be participating here locally?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think historically the ecosystem has been slowly growing, and we've focused a lot on incubator spaces and co-working spaces and kind of the pre-accelerator work that's been done. So I2E has the E3 program, there's the Builders and Backers program, and of course now the Gener8tor. So naturally, it just made sense to continue with that pipeline and providing additional resources. So that's kind of where Gener8tor steps in. We're hoping to really hone in on the founders that have already figured out product market fit and are ready to take it to the next level, understanding growth strategies, how to pitch to investors and customers. And the goal at the end of the 12-week intensive program is for them to get follow-on funding with investors.
So your focus is more on kind of where an entrepreneur is in the process, as opposed to maybe the type of business they have or the industry they're in?
Yes, so we are industry agnostic as of right now, and business model agnostic, which makes us quite unique, as a lot of accelerator programs are focused on tech-only companies. We're open to anything that is a high-growth startup.
Now, you are a California native.
I am.
Who you have attracted here to the Sooner State.
Yes, close to 6 years now.
Very, very good. And you spent some time in Tulsa previously?
Yes, 18 months.
Right, and you were at a Tinto Capital then?
Yes.
So in Tulsa, 18 months, now in Oklahoma City with Gener8tor. And we love stealing great talent from other places, especially California as well. So how's your just experience been with Oklahoma? Not on the business side, but just the people and living here.
Yeah, I mean, when I first came to visit back in 2017, it was for graduate school, and I toured around the country. But one of the things I wanted the most was I wanted to experience what other cultures were like. I definitely grew up in the Silicon Valley bubble, and the first memory I have of being in Oklahoma is I got off the airplane and I'm waiting for my baggage. And I see my baggage, I walk up to it, and all of a sudden, this slightly older woman comes up to me and she's like, "Is that your bag?" And I hesitate. I'm like, "Yes." And she's like, "Oh, okay, I got it." And she grabs it for me. And the California inside me, no offense, immediately goes to, oh my gosh, she's going to take my stuff. I'm going to have nothing. What am I going to do? But no, she was genuinely kind and just wanted to be helpful. And I love that. That's not sadly not something I grew up with. And in that moment I realized I want to spend the rest of my time here and contribute to people that really are trying to look out for each other. And the more I spent time in Oklahoma, the more I saw that, and I just love it.
So you mentioned the Silicon Valley life,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously we've used this term a few times. We'll probably use it again. The entrepreneurial ecosphere here in Oklahoma is on the rise. It's a much younger system. So what are some of the things that you think we're doing really well here, and maybe some of the things we could steal from Silicon Valley and kind of utilize to help along that process?
I love that everything here has felt very organic, especially in Oklahoma City. It's created out of passion projects. I think maybe 5 years ago when I first got here, there wasn't a whole lot in the startup ecosystem. But as people started to see interest from founders coming out of the university settings, they naturally gravitated to, okay, how can we help them? How do we ensure there's enough resources and an ecosystem here so that they're not fleeing back to California or the coast? And I think that kind of grassroots effort just feels so much more genuine, and founders can feel that too. So I think that's kind of unique and different than how Silicon Valley kind of just burst, right? We had some very wealthy individuals with great ideas come in and kind of establish all of that ecosystem there, but sometimes it still feels like it's forced upon us. In terms of what can we take from them?
Or should we at all?
I don't think so.
Just do our own thing?
Yes. I hear a lot of the times people try to compare Oklahoma City and Tulsa to Austin. And
I could tell you as an Oklahoman, I hate that comparison.
Right? Yes. Me too. I mean, I consider myself an Oklahoma now, but I don't want to be Austin.
Right.
Austin is great at what they do, but we have our own special niche. And I think the fact that we're understanding, okay, we can build this biotech hub here. We should focus in on aerospace and health, like all these different industries. Right. Like we have oil and gas. How can we pivot instead of let's just bring in this brand new industry where we don't have existing workforce and force it? That's what I think we need to focus more on, and I think we're starting to see that kind of effort there.
That makes a lot of sense. So you were looking for a place to get your master's degree. You ended up
PhD, actually.
Okay, PhD, but you ended up at OU.
I did.
But that PhD is in
biochem. So I didn't finish.
Okay.
Because I started working part-time at the Tom Love Innovation Hub on the Oklahoma Catalyst programs, and that's what sparked my passion for working with founders. And I decided that I love that way more than sitting at a lab bench trying to create a drug. So I went in and did this instead.
Like many entrepreneurs do, you pivoted.
Yes, I pivoted. I pivoted many a time.
And followed your passion onto something else.
Exactly.
And then ultimately got a master's, you got an MBA from OU.
Yep.
And now you're working in the ecosphere, as we like to say, right? So let's talk about Gener8tor real quick, because it's a different type of program, right? It's a free program. It's not investment. A little bit shorter. Mm-hmm. And so what are some of the difference between Gener8tor and the Gener8tor investment program, and is Gener8tor a pipeline to the Gener8tor program?
That is the goal. So with Elizabeth, who's running the Gener8tor program here in Oklahoma City, our goal is to work closely together to make sure that her founders that finish up their cohort and graduate are at a place where they're ready to continue with Gener8tor. So they're a 7-week free program, free for the founders. There's no equity involved. And they really are trying to get them to a place where they're comfortable with their startup. Vetting, is there a product market fit? Are you able to sell this company to customers? Are you going to be able to be profitable in the future? And they really focus on kind of the core curriculum of how to kind of move your startup along. And then, of course, there is the opportunity to do a showcase piece and some investor meet and greets and kind of building up your mentor circle. As opposed to Gener8tor, which there is a equity piece to it, but they gain so much more during those 12 weeks because we really hone in on the investor piece. The goal is that the last 4 weeks of the 12 weeks, they're put in front of 100, if not more, investors from around the country through my personal network, my PM's network, and then also, of course, the global network that Gener8tor has.
Right, the power of the brand of Gener8tor.
Exactly. Yeah, we all work really closely together as all the MDs, and we share, who we have available. So if I have a founder that's in biotech, then I can tap into their network and be like, hey, what's a good biotech investor that maybe isn't local here, but is willing to invest in a company? And I think there's something just so special about that, because as a founder, it's absolutely terrifying to just cold email an investor. So here's this opportunity where we're putting this in front of you. You just have to be willing to take it and do well, and then continue on with that conversation.
Obviously, with that much face time with people who are willing or not to put their own investment into a company, they get amazing amounts of feedback and direction and everything they need to really do good things with their business.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest feedback I've heard, obviously I haven't had my own cohort yet, but from others that I have mentored along the way, is they're not really going in there for the $100,000. They're here for the Gener8tor network.
Right.
And we obviously have had a lot of success as Gener8tor with many exits at this point, that people are understanding that this is a brand that we want to be part of and get into their network.
Funding is essential, but connections, relationships, your network is just as essential, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Gener8tor has a standard kind of investment offering.
Yes. So our current terms are $100,000 for a 7.5 safe.
Which seems like, especially for a company that is in the startup phase, a really, really good deal for them.
Yes, it's absolutely beneficial.
There are a lot of investors who would ask for a lot more for a lot less.
Yes.
Along with all of the benefits we just discussed of being part of the Gener8tor system.
Yeah, and with our alumni, they continue to be part of our family, as we like to call it. We don't just have them graduate and go off and fly off on their own. We continue to invite them to lightning rounds with other investors. We have different conference series that are industry focused that we can showcase to corporations. We have that corporate network as well for potential acquisitions or customers, and the list goes on and on.
What's your favorite, just personally, what's your favorite aspect of this journey when you first meet someone? Maybe they're in the G-Beta or applying for G-Beta, and you're meeting an entrepreneur or a small team. As they're going through the process and once they get to the end of this, what's your favorite aspect on a personal level that you see in the people involved?
Yeah, I would say my favorite thing is figuring out where they need to focus on, that kind of hurdle that they need to get through, and matching them with the right person who's going to be able to provide that assistance or that expertise. Because I know that my knowledge and my experiences are somewhat limited. I'm good at certain things and there are things that I'm not. But the great thing about having that foresight is that I can find ways to pad that with my network and the mentors. And that's the fun part for me is kind of figuring out what the pieces are. But because of that, that's what I love so much about Gener8tor. It truly is a white glove experience. It's concierge level. We're not giving you a cookie cutter 12-week of lessons. It's figuring out at the very beginning of the cohort, what are all the different issues, or where is everyone starting at, and kind of tailoring the lessons with each one. And each founder actually gets 2 days of one-on-one time per week with either myself or my PM. So there's a lot of individual time there.
A huge value all across the spectrum for what we both agree is a really generous deal from Gener8tor. So tons of good reasons for anyone listening to this podcast, anyone who knows a startup or someone who even just is in the idea stage, to really check out what G-Beta and Gener8tor is doing now in Oklahoma City and the contribution that's going to add to our overall, here's that word again, ecosystem that we're all building together.
And if you're not a founder, but you have a wealth of experience, we are always looking for mentors and investors.
Right.
And maybe you don't play in the same startup ecosystem, but just if you have like 20 years in oil and gas, I promise you're going to be a mentor to somebody.
Right.
So
we need that information.
Exactly. So don't count yourself short. Everyone can be a mentor.
That makes a lot of sense. And now we have the combination of Oklahoma City's newest entry into that ecosystem, Gener8tor and G-Beta, along with the Oklahoma Venture Forum, which is Oklahoma's oldest organization, started in the mid-'80s, response to that last oil bust. And we've been doing it for a very long time, kind of the steady player in the game. And so now we have Gener8tor coming to OVF in January of 2023. This is exciting.
Yes.
So we end every podcast by asking this question. What is your advice, your favorite bit of advice, your favorite thing you like to tell Oklahoma entrepreneurs, specifically Oklahoma entrepreneurs?
Yeah. Take advantage of the fact that Oklahoma is willing to talk and listen and wants to be helpful. And anytime you meet someone new, talk about your company, talk about your passion, because people can sense your passion. And when they get excited for you, they're going to go and naturally talk about you and what you're doing. And that can open so many doors and opportunities. You just never know.
Solid advice, everyone. Looking forward to your full presentation, the Power Lunch presentation, January 2023. Anita Ly, Managing Director, Gener8tor OKC.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited, and I hope to see a lot of you there.
You heard her. We'll see you there.
Thanks, guys.